Hello and welcome back. We're talking about why we do what we do. What are our motivations? We talked about different types of motivations. We talked about evolutionary theory. We talked about drive theory. We talked about arousal theory, which led to the Yerkes-Dodson, which says we all have this optimum level of arousal and everybody's different. That's why you did the sensation-seeking scale. Well, Abraham Maslow said we have drives that are in an order, in a hierarchy. So often it's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you see it's kind of a pyramid. And the idea of this, and it's not necessarily true. We'll talk about this in a slide coming up. But we can't worry about sense of our self-worth and competence and things like that until we have our biological needs met. If you are living under a bridge, if you are hungry, if you are thirsty, if you are lonely, you need to get these met first before you can move up to the next one, and that makes sense. And then safety is the next one. Do you live in a war zone? Do you hear gunshots outside of your house all the time? Are there tornadoes and hurricanes? You can't worry about all this other bigger stuff until we move up. So we'll start at the bottom, biological. This is your physiological needs. Safety is, do you feel like you are not in danger? And if you feel like you're not in danger, we can move up to the next one. And attachment, notice it's love. And we're going to talk later about this theory of attachment, this idea that when you are born and you have a mother and father who cuddle you, you will become attached to them. So that's attachment theory. It's not just loving somebody, but it's feeling connected to them in a deep way. But if you're hungry and you don't feel safe, you're not going to feel attached to very many people. So attachment is to feel love. A lot of people confuse this one. They look at it and they think, well, I see esteem, that must mean self-esteem. That's part of it. That's not all of it. We need to feel self-esteem, yes, but we also need to feel esteemed by other people. To be esteemed means to be respected. You feel confident. So if somebody knows you are good at playing an instrument, you are esteemed by other people. We need to feel confident, like I'm good at this. And we can't really start feeling this, again, that's what Maslow would say, until we got all the way down here. We need to feel competent. We need to feel worthy. Not only self-worth, but worthy from other people, from our peers, from our friends, from our family, all these other people. And that's not love. That's kind of respect and self-respect. And then self-actualization. That's kind of a weird one. It's kind of a tricky one. You're not at that space where you can necessarily be self-actualization. And this is going to come across as really cheesy. But self-actualization is being the best you can be. And that sounds just stupid. But my best is not going to be Mr. Davis's best, is not going to be any student's best. You know what you're good at. You know what your strengths are. You know what your goals are, what your drives are, all these other things. So when you can really work on your self-actualization, you're working on being, again, taking all of your talents and using them to your fullest. Now, if you're self-actualized, you feel fulfilled. This is not just happy, you feel fulfilled. You feel like you're using all of your talents. If you've ever done a boring job or done a boring assignment, you say, ugh, this is not using my talents very well. But then you find a job or a task or something that makes you feel like, wow, I am really using the things that I've been given, all of my things. That's self-actualization. And we really can't, again, get to that until we get through all of those. And then later on, he added this last one, self-transcendence. To transcend means to go beyond. Self-actualization in some ways is kind of selfish in the sense that you're working on yourself. You're trying to be the best you can be. And then is that the highest goal? No. The highest goal is to become the best you can be and then share it. Think beyond yourself. Think, how do I transcend, go beyond myself and think about how do I help other people? How do I help the community? How do I help the world? And he would say that the person who is at the top of these hierarchy of needs, this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the person who's at the top feels safe, feels like they have their needs met. They feel loved and attached. They feel self-respect and respected from others. They feel like they are using all of their talents to their fullest, and then they can share them. And what he said is that all those types of people have reached the top. And there's a little quotation at the bottom, and we probably could change it to a different gender, but it says, a musician must make music. An artist must paint. A poet must write if he or she is to be ultimately at peace with him or herself. What one can be, one must be. That is self-actualization. So it's called a hierarchy of needs. They occur in priority order, that we really can't worry about self-actualization until we get all of these other stuff down below. There are two problems with that. We're going to talk more about this later, but I want to touch on it right now. It's culturally based. We live in what's called an individualistic society. We believe in individual rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're not worried about anybody else. In fact, you might apply this to this whole mask controversy. There are people saying, I have my rights. That's very individualistic. There are other cultures, many of them Eastern cultures, many of them Asian cultures, that are what's called collectivistic cultures. They're worried about the whole. They're worried about the group. They're worried about not only just the family, but they're worried about their community, their country, and the world. And they say what's most important is the group. And I think collectivist cultures are better at that, better at wearing masks, because they are not about, you can't tell me what to do. They're saying what's best for the community. Those are two different ways of looking at the world, not judging either way. I'm saying that in an individualistic society, self-actualization will be the most important part. How do I get, it would be very high on the list. How do I be the best me I can be? Whereas in an Eastern culture, attachment might be more important and esteem might be more important. They might be higher on the list because it's more about who do I love and who respects me, being respected by the other people in your community. So, one criticism of the hierarchy of needs is it's very Western-based. It's very kind of American, really. And then another criticism is it's not strictly hierarchical, meaning that, for instance, Mahatma Gandhi, in order to gain independence for India, would go on hunger strikes. Now, I don't think anybody would argue that he wasn't a self-transcendent person. Mahatma Gandhi was a self-transcendent person. He was thinking about people other than himself. And he was also self-actualized. Yet, he gave up his biological needs in order to be self-actualized. So, nobody is arguing that these aren't all needs, that these aren't all motives for us, but they might argue that they are not in this strict hierarchy, this strict level that Abraham Maslow originally said. Now that was 7.5 minutes on one slide, but it's really important and it's going to be on the AP test.